Good morning. What a fun morning I've just had. I'm out in this marshy area again. I've come out here a couple times now to do a few videos over the past few months, and I'm loving it out here. There's so many new species of birds I've never photographed before. I've just been having a blast. The last couple days I've noticed some Sandhill Cranes out here, and they kind of move around sporadically, but I came out this morning with my ghillie net and kind of hid up in the reeds a little bit, and in hopes to get these Sandhill Cranes. And they had moved again from where I had seen them yesterday. They're about a half a mile off this morning, so I wasn't able to get them. But as I was sitting here, I had some egrets come through this marsh, and they started fishing right in front of me. It was really cool to watch. They pulled out these little fish and they'd kind of throw them up in the air or shake them around, and then they'd eat them. Just really cool behavior to watch, and it's just something I haven't really seen before. I don't spend a lot of time around a lot of these birds, so I just haven't spent a lot of time observing them. And these egrets, they'd put their foot in the silt and the mud, and they'd kind of shake it around or move it around to stir up the fish, and then they would get the fish. Just again, really cool to see. As I was out here as well, I noticed some ibises starting to come through. I believe they're white-faced ibises. Again, I'm really not that good with my shorebird identification and a lot of the birds out here, so I believe they're white-faced ibises, correct me if I'm wrong. But a couple of those guys started coming through. That was a lot of fun to see them and get a little bit of video of them. But off in the distance, I noticed where a bunch of them were congregating, and it's in a little bit of a deeper water area. So what I think I'm going to do is tonight I'm going to come out here, set up that floating blind that I've used before, kind of set it up in some reeds just outside of the marsh here a little bit, or on the outskirts of the marsh where the birds were congregating. And I'll get in there early tomorrow morning, kind of set up, and hopefully get some more footage of these ibises, because that's another species I have never photographed before. I've never gotten any video footage, and I'd really like to get some more of them. So I'll set up that floating blind and come out again tomorrow morning The sun just came up maybe 20 minutes ago out here. It is so hot today. So most of the birds have already moved off, and the light's still decent, but it's going to start to get harsh here in a little bit. So I'm going to take off already, and like I say, I'll come back out in the evening, set up that blind, and then have it all ready for the morning for when I come back, and hopefully get some footage of those ibises. Just been a fantastic morning already though, and I'm hoping to have another great morning tomorrow. Okay, we'll see. Alright, I'm back out here to set up my blind. Sun's already set, so it's getting dark pretty quick. I'm going to set this up, and then I'm going to anchor it here for the night. I found it's a lot easier to set this up the previous evening and to leave it overnight somewhere safe than to try to get here even earlier in the morning and try to set it up then in the dark. It can just get really hard. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to put my ghillie blanket over the blind. If you haven't seen my video that I did recently on different types of camouflage, I talk about this ghillie blanket and that. This is another reason why I wanted a ghillie blanket rather than a ghillie suit, is because I can drape this over my floating blind or other blinds that I have, and it just helps to camouflage it a little bit better. So I'm gonna get this set up real quick and then take off, and I'll be out here bright and early in the morning. This blind that I made, so yeah, I made this and it's pretty basic. I've got my platform that floats, and that's just plywood with some insulation in the middle, just helps keep it a little bit more buoyant. And then this outer layer here is actually like a fiberglass cloth with some waterproof like boat repair resin that I put over that. And then I've got these tent poles. You can get them online pretty easily, and you can cut them to size. So that's what I did with these. Makes it really easy, kind of like putting up a tent. And they just fit in the corners of the blind here. Got a mount for my camera here with my tripod. And then I just tie a string in the middle here to keep the poles where I want them. This is just a cover that I sewed myself, just to reiterate how easy this can be to make. I have no sewing experience whatsoever. I mean, I made like a pillowcase once when I was 12 or 13 in a class for school. That's the extent of my sewing experience, and I was able to sew this up. It took me about a day, I think. And it's just a custom fitted cover for this. I put elastic, or elastic in some points that connect to the bolts that hold these together. The bolts go all the way through the platform and stick out about ½ an inch underneath, and the elastic just hooks right onto those bolts. And then I sewed a port for my camera lens to go through, which makes it really nice. And now that I've used this blind quite a few times, I'd never used one before, but now that I have, there are a few things that I would do differently. And I've had quite a
few questions about it and just requests on like tutorials on how I made it. So I'm actually going to be making another one here in the next few months, and I'll document that process and just walk you guys through step by step how I'm doing it, how I sew the cover, everything like that. So be on the lookout for that video. Like I say though, that's not going to be for another few months. It'll probably be either this fall or winter when I have a little bit more downtime, most likely in the winter. But I do want that next model, I guess I'll call it, I want it ready for the spring migration next year. Okay, I got that cover on. I sewed some Velcro on this. So that just shuts like that. And then this ghillie net, I'm just gonna drape it right over the top. If I had more time, I could get some dead reeds and kind of poke them through the net just to make it look a little bit more natural. But I'm running low on time tonight, so I'm not gonna do that. I haven't necessarily had to do that in the past, so I'm not too worried about it, honestly. And those ibises this morning that I was with, they seem pretty chill, so I think this will be sufficient for them in the morning. And that's really it. I'm gonna anchor it to some of these reeds here. I did see a larger stick back here too, so I'll probably stick that in the mud, kind of anchor it. It's not supposed to be too windy tonight, and I don't think the tide's gonna come up very far on this lake. So I should be fine here. My plan tomorrow morning, I've got these reeds back here behind me. I've noticed that the ibises tend to hang out in this spot here. So in the morning, I'm gonna come in before it's light, hop in the blind, walk it over to those reeds and just kind of hunker down in the reeds a little bit, sit and wait for the birds to show up. And the sun's gonna come up behind me, so I should have some excellent light on those ibises. I hope they come around tomorrow morning, we'll see. I haven't been watching them really at all. Like I mentioned, I saw them this morning in this area, so I'm hoping they'll come back to this area and that I can get some pictures and videos. Super excited to be back in this blind though. It's been a little bit, probably about 2 months since I've been in it, so I'm excited to be back in it, and I'm hoping for some success tomorrow morning. We'll see you in the morning though. I've had such a fun morning. I've missed this so much. Like I mentioned before, I haven't been in here for a couple of months, so it's so good to get back out here in this floating blind. I'm literally just in the middle. There's a hole cut out in the middle of this blind, and the water's so shallow here. I'm literally just sitting in the mud right now with the blind floating around me, but it has been so much fun. I got out here just after 4:30 this morning,
like I've mentioned before in previous videos, you gotta get in your blinds before the birds come in, or before the animals come in, which means getting in there while it's still dark. So I got out here just after 4:30. I've been in here ever since. It's about 8:30 right now. Sorry, I've got a plane flying over. But yeah, the egrets came in first while it was still dark, and I was able to get a little bit of additional footage of them. And then the ibises started coming in, and right now I've got literally just hundreds of ibises just all around me, just kind of spread out. But beautiful birds. I've never photographed them before. I've never spent time watching them, so it's been a whole lot of fun just being able to do that this morning. That's what I came out here for. But that wasn't my favorite part. My favorite part has been the Avocets. Just gorgeous, gorgeous birds. I've never photographed them either before, so it's just been so much fun. I've had a pair of them kind of hanging around the blind this morning, and at points the birds are getting so close where I can't even focus on them. They don't know that I'm here, which is the best part. They're just acting naturally. They don't know that I'm here, and it's just been such a fun morning. I'm so glad that I got back out here. It's been too long. The Grebe right outside the blind. I'm gonna try to photograph him again. These are another species I've never really photographed, so I'm gonna try to get him. I didn't even know he was there.
Such a good time this morning. It's getting really hot now, so I'm gonna call it a day, but had a great time with these birds out here. I love getting out in that floating blind. I've got another video, I think one other video that I've done in this blind before with some golden-eyed ducks that I was trying to photograph. So go check that out. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll like that one as well. I love photographing from blinds. It's just a great way to get natural behavior from animals without them knowing that you're there. So I just had a fantastic time this morning. So many new species I've never photographed before. And it was just great to observe them, get some video footage, get some pictures. Whole lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you consider doing so. I come out with videos every week. And that's a mixture of like wildlife vloggy videos, kind of like this one, as well as some photography tips. I go over gear that I use, different things like that. So if you haven't considered subscribing, or if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. And on that note, I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week, and yeah, get out there and have some fun.
Blinded by the light.